So it has been that kind of day. I have had a busy week, or I was supposed to have a busy week, had a full schedule, let's put it that way. And this morning I woke up dragging, and my son woke up with snotty nose and sick, not miserable sick, but sick. And we changed some plans for today. Some of our plans will stay the same, some will change. I was going to join a co-op that we were going to try out for the first time today, and I was really excited about doing, but I really didn't want to bring a sick child and get everybody else sick, so that changed. We did school anyway, just the minimum that we had to do to scrape by, and that was like pulling teeth for me. That's all I could do between my energy levels and just resilience. And it wasn't like my children were being especially bad. I just felt like I had no reserves. And then just managing kids, and I'm tired. And I'm sure I'm fighting whatever my child has. But I really wanted to get this video done so that I could participate in this collaboration. So here goes, and bear with me if I am not as coherent as normal, or if I yawn in your face or fall asleep on camera. But we're going to give it a shot anyway. Hi and welcome. So today's video is a collaboration. It's part of a collaboration hosted by Annalisa over at Creative Curious Learning and Living. And I'm going to go ahead and post her channel below in the description, as well as the playlist linked to all the other videos the other moms are doing about what they are reading, and specifically during the month of September, I believe it's, but what are we currently reading? So for me, I'm going to do what am I currently reading? What have I read during the month of September? And before you get overwhelmed by what I'm about to show you, let me just put this out there. I read a lot, and I'm a fast reader, and I read far more than the majority of people I know. So this is by no means a competition or to make you feel bad if you haven't read as much as I have read or what books I have read. If I am enjoying a book, I can read 2 in a day. Now, depending on what kind of book it is, novels, we'll do 2 novels in a day, but if I'm enjoying a book, I can read it quite quickly. So please don't compare yourself. This is just me sharing what I'm enjoying, what books I'm reading for homeschooling, what books I'm reading for self-development, what books I'm reading just for pure enjoyment of it. So let me just go with that. So first, I'm going to do kind of the things that pertain to homeschool that I read, and I'll just tell you not a lot about them, but a little bit. So the first one would be The Brave Learner. Now, this is an extremely popular book. I've seen it so many places recommended. I got it somewhere. I don't even remember where. And I hadn't planned to read it. I don't even know why. And then I saw it recommended so many places. I'm like, why am I not reading this? So I picked it up, and I got, I want to say like 50 or 60 pages in, around chapter 4 or 5. And I just knew it wasn't for me. So I did not finish it. I put it down and will give it to somebody else. And why? Oh gosh, this isn't the day to ask me why for anything, but we'll go ahead and give it a shot anyway. I understand why it's popular. It's very appealing. It's very child-friendly. Let your child love learning. And she does give some practical ideas of how to do it. It's not all theoretical. She does, give you a theory, and then she goes, well, and here's ways to implement that. But it still felt too good to be true. Not too good to be true. Too idyllic. I don't know what the word is. If I tried to do this, I would go insane. It's just not me, maybe. It's just too free, I want to say artsy crafty, but I'm not against artsy crafty. But it didn't resonate with me. I felt like there were some good things in it, and I could learn some points, but not enough for me to read the whole book. I didn't feel like I was valuing it enough. It's very child learning led, and I'm not a massive fan of child led learning. One reason being, I don't think your child gets self-discipline. I think there's value in learning things you don't want to learn, and it doesn't always have to cater to the child. Now, that's not what this is about necessarily, but it's I don't know. I'm not being very coherent. I did not really enjoy this book. I just felt like if I tried to implement this, it would be too much, and it would take away from what I value in our homeschool in me trying to cater to my children. And not that I don't want to cater to my children or work around and make them enjoy homeschool. I do. I want them to love learning. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to have a craft table set up in the middle of our living room at all times with all sorts of messy supplies. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to take a day out when my children want to, just to do extra activities that may or may not have a lot of value in learning but get them excited. There are times I will do that, but that's not going to be my regular. And I just felt like in reading this, there was a lot of things that were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And then I like thinking about it, it sounds great, but for me to do that would just be so frustrating and feel like I was constantly trying to achieve what does not work for me. Now, I do love crafting. I do love giving my kids those opportunities and helping them to love learning and enhancing it in ways that are valuable to them. And there were some ideas in it that I thought, oh, that's a cool idea. But as a whole, it just doesn't resonate with me. So anyhow, I think I've talked long enough about that. Read it yourself, see what you think. It wasn't for me, but that doesn't mean it's not for everyone. The next book I'm reading, oh, I didn't even premise what I wanted to premise in the beginning. I wanted to say that this list of books didn't include books that I'm reading with my children, like read alouds and stuff like that. And it didn't include books that I'm previewing for my children. I have a big library upstairs, and I like to preview most of the books that go in there, or books for the following homeschool year, read alouds that I want to read with them. All those kind of like for my kid category are not in here, but books that I'm reading with other people. I have a couple of people that I meet with and read books, or with my husband. I am including those. So that's what I want to say. I told you I'm a little out of it today. The next book I am reading with a friend who is also a homeschooler. She has 4 kids, and we meet up once a month and go through a couple of chapters. And I'm really enjoying this book. It's Habits of the Household. This is definitely a religious book. So if you are not Christian or religious, this will not resonate with you. But it's all about how the habits that we create within our household develop what our household becomes, and habits that our children become, and it affects who we are. Our habits make up a lot of who we are. And so it talks about the habits surrounding, and then this little circle, it surrounds wake time, eat, meal time. I don't remember what this is. Work. School time, maybe, in our marriage, playtime, conversations, and sleeping or bedtime routines. So the different chunks of your day and the habits that are involved. And he talks through his thoughts. And it's written from a perspective of somebody who's in the middle of parenting young children. So I don't feel like it's looking back fondly on the years that you are struggling in. Sometimes I read books and I'm like, yes, your points are good. Yes, I know the time's going by fast, but I feel like you're writing from a perspective of, oh, those were good years, and I'm in the middle of the battle. And I feel like this was written in the middle of the battle, so to speak. And I feel like in that essence, it's very pertinent and very helpful. So I would recommend reading this. I think it's been a good read. Some of the chapters more than others, but I definitely have chapters marked that I would love to read with my husband, or that I want to go back and read again and just kind of think through a little bit more. So I would say this is a great read, not directly related to homeschooling, but related to parenting and household and all that stuff. The last one, which I do not have a copy of on hand, I borrowed it from the library, started reading it, returned it to the library, but ended up ordering a copy of my own so that I could finish a couple chapters in. It's called Mind in the Making. I'll throw a picture up somewhere up here for you to kind of get a visual. And it's talking about, I think it's 7 different ways of thinking, or ways of learning, or ways that we can develop our children's brain that will give them advantages in life. So things like logical thinking or critical thinking, things like, I'm so blanking and I know what they are. Anyhow, it talks through the different aspects and then gives very practical like activities to do with your kids. And so the aspects themselves aren't like mind-blowing to me, but I really liked her list of activities, because I sometimes struggle in knowing how to spend extra time with my children outside of the homeschool and enjoy them and play with them or interact with them in ways that are healthy for both of us. I tend to like homeschool and do what I need to do and manage the house, but then have them play on their own. And so I've been trying to integrate a little bit more of me interacting with them outside of what we must do. And I liked her list of activities because a lot of them were game or play based, but still developing aspects of, mind growth that I really like. So I thought I would like to have that book on hand as a reference, if nothing else, just for activities to do with the kids. And so that is that one. The next kind of category of books that I want to show you are the couple that are like personal development. And this next one is one that I am reading with a couple of women, young wives and mothers, called What Did You Expect? Redeeming the Realities of Marriage. And it's by Paul David Tripp, who I really love, this author. And it's basically talking about marriage and how to create a healthy, devoted marriage, how we come to marriage with expectations and habits and all these things that hinder us, and how do we really create a marriage that is devoted to each other and devoted to God. And so he has 6 commitments that he and his wife have made in marriage, and it talks through different aspects of these commitments. And they are: we will give ourselves to a regular lifestyle of confession and forgiveness. We will make growth and change our daily agenda. We will work together to build a sturdy bond of trust. We will commit to building a relationship of love. We will deal with our differences with appreciation and grace, and we will work to protect our marriage. So those are the 5 commitments that they have. And so this book really talks through those 5 commitments and how those look in reality. And again, this is another religious-based book, so if you do not have that, then this may not be for you. And then I think I stuck this in personal development. I don't really know that it is. It's one that my husband and I are reading, and it's not really entertainment, but it's not personal development because I was kind of in the middle. It's a biography of Gladys Aylward called The Little Woman. And if you're not familiar with who this is, she was a missionary to China. And this story is wonderful. It's a short book. It's an easy read, not a hard read. And I'm constantly challenged by reading these kinds of books as to who I am in God and who, like, if God asked me to pull everything up and move to China with one piece of luggage and a tea kettle, would I do that? And the answer, sometimes I don't always want to face, is it would take a lot of work for God to get me there. And I hope I would get there, but I don't, like, just right now, it would be a big fight internally for me to get to that place. So seeing people who are just faithful in what God does with them is so encouraging and so challenging, and really just helps me reevaluate where my priorities are sometimes. So this is one my husband and I are reading. I've read it a long time ago. We read all these kinds of stories growing up, and he has not. And so it's been really fun for me to introduce him to some of these stories that I remember and haven't read in a long time, and I'm just re-challenged by. So excellent read if you are interested in this kind of book. Next are some entertaining. I don't know what I read when I just want to read and enjoy. And I like to read and enjoy. I don't always have as much time as I would like. So if I were single and doing nothing and had a limited supply of books that I could read and wanted to read, I could read so many. But these are, I think I have like 4 that I've just enjoyed reading lately. So I finished just recently Around the World in 80 Days. I don't remember if I've read this in the past. I've definitely watched one of the movies, but I had it on my shelf and I thought, I don't know if I've actually read the book. It was really well done. I mean, of course, it's a classic. It was entertaining. It was amusing. It was lighthearted. And I love the descriptions and depictions of people that some of the classics have, just the way they create a caricature of an individual, and I just really enjoy reading it. So this was an enjoyable read. We had a vacation as a family with a whole bunch of other people, and so I brought a book along because I'm an introvert and I needed just a little space to myself. So while we were there, I also read The Enchanted Isle, which I have read before, so this was a reread by D.E. Stevenson. And while technically a romance, it's very old-fashioned, so it's not a romance in today's terms. I think maybe they kiss at the end. I'm not even sure that they do that. They might. I don't know. So it is a romance, but it's a very old-fashioned romance. And I enjoyed the story. This isn't my all-time favorite of her books. I do like this author a lot. And my absolute favorite of her books, if you want just a light read that's humorous, easy to read, sweet, check out Miss Bunkle's book by D.E. Stevenson. Great read. So of all her books, that's one I recommend. But I enjoyed reading that. Another author I absolutely love, and this is another reread for me. I reread her books periodically because she cracks me up. And again, this isn't my favorite of her books, but one I hadn't read in a long time is Charity Girl by Georgette Hare. If you have not read Georgette Hare, it really depends what your style is, but she's a Regency romance author. Romance, again, old-fashioned. Her books are clean. And some books I like more than others, so not all her books are equal. Some of her characters aren't very moral men, but some of them are great. And so I pick and choose. But she makes me laugh. She's just witty, and her heroes always marry the right heroines, and they're just light and amusing and enjoyable reads. So I enjoyed that as just a kind of a light, fluffy read, we'll call it that. And then currently I'm in the middle of reading Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. And I have read this again. It's been a very long time since I've read this. It is a 700 and something page book. So it's not a quick read, but I love the classics. I just like, there's something so solid and well done in some of the older authors and the way they wrote. So I've been enjoying this. I like the story. It's sweet. It's Jane Austen-esque. It's not Jane Austen, but kind of that feel. So if you like that style of book, then this might be one that you'd enjoy. Another novel that I am reading with my husband, or listening to, it's on audiobook, is called Virgin in the Ice by Ellis Peters. And I'll throw a picture up here again. And it's a Cadfile book. If you're not familiar with them, they are mysteries. And my husband and I like such different genres of reading and movies that we meet in the middle. And so a mystery is one that we can meet in the middle. But I have to have a particular kind of mystery. It can't be too spooky or scary. Suspense is something that has just gone out the window, especially since having kids. I can't do suspense. So I like her mysteries in that they are well written. They're well descriptive. I like the character building she has in them. They're clean. But another thing that I really, really like, and what enables me to be able to enjoy these, is they're not spooky. The focus isn't on the murder. Often the crime happens or the murder happens initially toward the beginning of the story, and then the rest is in figuring out what happened. It's not like you're leading up to the mystery or the murder and you're like, I don't know, I can't take that. But it's more about the solving of the crime than the crime itself. And I've really enjoyed these. She, I actually don't know if the author is a male or female, but they have like 20 some CAD file mysteries, and I've really enjoyed them. We've listened to the first 4.5. I think we got through the first like half of number 5, and then something happened and we didn't pick it up for a long time. And when we wanted to start again, we're like, oh, let's just start with a new one. So we may go back and watch and listen to that one, but we're on number 6. So this is number 6 in the series, and we are really enjoying it together. So those are the ones that I have read this month or am reading. And then I have 2 more that I was going to share with you that are the ones that are kind of my next up, since the month isn't over. So these are the 2 that I'm about to start. One is one I'm going to be reading by myself, and we just picked this up at Goodwill, and I thought I would really like to read this. So The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And I know this name, I know vaguely who he was, but I haven't really read much about him or his work. And this book, after kind of reading a summary, if I'm not mistaken, is the cost of being a disciple of Jesus Christ. And just what, if you are really following as a disciple, what your life should look like and what are some things that you should be seeing. And that's, I could be wrong because I haven't read this, but just from reading the summaries and kind of a quick overview, I'm pretty sure that's kind of the gist of this book. And I think I'm in a place where being challenged would be a good thing. And so I'm going to pick this one up. So we'll see what I think. And then the other one I'm going to be picking up is with a friend when we finish. I mentioned The Habits of the Household book in the very beginning that I was reading a friend. We're almost done with that. When we finish, the next book we're moving into is a homeschooling book called Know and Tell, The Art of Narration. And this book is by one of the founders of Ambleside Online, Karen Glass. And it's really what it says. It's about understanding and knowing how to teach your children how to do narration. And since it's something I do want to incorporate in our homeschool, I was looking at reading and I was really interested in. And then I was mentioning it to the other mom I meet with, and she's like, oh, I wanted to read that book. So we decided we'll do that next. So this one we're about to pick up, and I'm actually really looking forward to this and hoping to be able to implement some of these soon. My oldest daughter is almost at the point where I want to start introducing narration. And so I think this is the perfect time to start learning a little bit about that. So thanks for coming along. Thanks for seeing what I read. Maybe some of those will spark some ideas for you. I will try to link all of these down below. If you have any questions about any of them, please ask, because I know that I wasn't necessarily the most coherent today. Thanks for bearing with me. Some days are just like that. Not all days are perfect, and that's okay. So I will be doing more videos soon. I don't really know how to end this video because my brain is dying on me. So don't forget to check out the playlist below. Check out what other moms are reading. If you have any recommendations based on what you've seen, please do let me know. And if you want any recommendations based on what you just saw, I'd be happy to send you a list of recommendations of books. I love books, clean books, novels, self-help, self-development, homeschooling, all that stuff. So if you're interested in any, please comment below and I'd be happy to send a list your way.